Like every other football lover, I have watched and admired Robert Harvey. From his debut in 1988, Harvey looked a player and he's developed into perhaps the greatest saint of all. 2 Brownlow medals, 4 Best and Fairest awards, and All-Australian selection 8 times illustrates what a magnificent player he's been for an unprecedented 21 seasons. Harvey leaves the game as a champion with a flawless record. I spoke extensively with him recently. It was a fascinating chat and I hope you enjoy his reflections as much as I did. Welcome to Fox Sports, Rob.
Thanks, Mike.
What a journey. Has it been going to work or living a dream?
It never felt like it's going to work. I suppose when having started so young at 16 and still been doing year 11 at school, it never felt like I had a job. Well, this was a job for me because back when I started, you're still talking being very, very semi-professional, and for the first 5 or 6 years that I was at the club, even after I turned 18, I was working full time, so as well away from the club. So it never felt like it, and then the transition happened, so it never felt like a job for me.
You played your first game at what's now known as the Whitten Oval, was the Western Oval, in 1988. Can you remember much about it?
I just remember driving a long way to get there, and obviously had all the family there. We were still a bit shocked that it happened so quickly.
Do you remember your first opponent?
Yeah, it was Michael Ford.
Fruity?
Yeah, Fruity Ford, who eventually came to St.Kilda after that. So I got to know him, but it was a bizarre thing because I was playing on him all day, and he actually commentates the game while the game's going, and I'd never heard anything like it before in my life.
Now, Darryl Baldock was your coach at that time?
Yep.
Doc had a bit of trouble, he had an identity crisis at the time, didn't he?
Yeah, well, he had, obviously, it was the year after he'd had that stroke, and he'd missed most of the previous year as coach, and they'd reinstated him the year after in '88, which was my first year. So he was one of the main reasons I reckon I got through. It gave me the confidence early to get through, because he played me that last 4 games of '88, and he basically told me and Gordon Fode and Brett Bowie that we wouldn't be dropped at all, no matter how irrelevant of our performances, and it gave us a lot of confidence. But with the stroke came a short memory, and he really struggled with names occasionally. And if he was in doubt, he'd just call you old mate, So, and I'd be still coming from school, so I'd be getting home from school, having something to eat, jumping on the train, or Mum would drive me in, and I'd often be. Training had already started, and I'd just sort of try and sneak on the track, and I think he saw me occasionally, but he couldn't remember my name or whatever, and for a long time he was actually calling me Rodney, which the boys found pretty funny in meetings and stuff, and I'd sort of saunter up to him after the meeting and, correct him, and sure enough, next meeting he called me Rodney again. So.
You're in your 21st year at AFL level, which is unprecedented in the history of the game. Where does the durability come from?
I don't think it's my preparation. I think, and I don't think it as well. It's my genes. I don't know. I think a lot of it's just luck. And I remember a lot of people saying when I was about 25, 26, because I went through that spate of between 20 and 25 where I just trained like a maniac, and I was doing a lot of stuff away from the club. But when you do that, it always gets back somehow. Someone sees you running, or someone, and it gets back to the club. So there's a lot of stories about me doing stuff outside, which was, a lot of it was true. And a lot of people used to say to me, you're going to burn out, your body's going to give way, all that stuff's going to catch up with you. And I honestly believe that was true, because I was living for the now pretty much with my training, and I was sort of out of control a bit I couldn't physically, control in my mind how much I could train. So almost an addiction type thing. And I always thought 30 would probably see me out. So when you get to 30 and I did my knee, you're basically playing every game like it's going to be your last game, and I did that. But sort of a year went on, and a year went on, and a year went on, and before you know it, you're 35 and still playing.
You're talking about that sort of form of addiction to that extra training. Why were you doing that? Were you doing that because you thought, I have to do it to sort of maintain my edge on the football field, or was it a psychological thing?
A lot of it was because, back then there was a big gap between the good runners at the club, or in the AFL, or probably across the board. There was a big gap between the best runners and the rest. So if you could broaden that gap, you had a big advantage over the field. So I always thought that, and as well, when I came to the club, I wasn't a great runner, and for whatever reason, I got a sort of a hunger for it, and it sort of, those two factors combined sort of led me to be a bit out of control, and which was okay sort of pre-season, but in season it just started giving me a few problems with my body, and one time I remember, for whatever reason, we had training Thursday in selection and a meeting, and I come home at, must have been 7:30, and on the Thursday night we were playing Saturday, and I went for a 10 or 11k run at home around Seaford, and I got home and I thought, what am I doing, And I woke up the next day, my legs were like jelly, played like it on the Saturday, and really sort of gave me a bit of a wake up.
Have any of your coaches, you've had 7 I think, have any of them ever given you a spray that has really burnt you, scarred you, upset you?
There's probably not one that sticks out more than any other. I've obviously got them off all the coaches that I've had, and I think it's pretty well publicised that Stan was he gave the leaders of the place, and that was his philosophy, to give the leaders of the place a harder time than the rest. And so I probably got a few more there, but nothing that stands out, nothing that I would have said would have drawn me to go up to him the next week and say, what was that about,
Was there any consistency in the message? Was there one thing that they saw in your game that they thought you needed sort of some regular attention to?
I suppose not really. I suppose a lot of it depends on the state of your career, where you're at and stuff. But when you're at your peak, the expectations from the coach to you are a lot higher. So he demands your consistency each week, and if you're flat or you're down or you're not running or whatever, he'll. And I think Stan in particular knew that I responded to the criticism. Like I sort of took it, I suppose, personally, and that would get a reaction from me on the field, and it did. Like I was always pretty stung by that, and I did try and do something about it on the field. So I think he saw that, but I suppose over the journey, maybe the defensive side of my game a little bit for a period was that way. So that was a bit of a theme, but it was probably more that the demanding of that consistency.
Were you stung when Blighty said that, if I'm paraphrasing him correctly, that Blighty said that you went to the wrong places to get kicks? Did that hurt you?
It didn't hurt me, no, because I think, look, he was talking. I think he was talking about a particular game. He might not have been, but from my memory, he was talking about a particular game. And at the end of the day, like, you sit down and think about it. Obviously, thought about what he said, and all you can do is get to a contest and get to as many as you can. And I know I did that, and I know I sort of knew where he's coming from to a degree. But if I looked over my career and how I play, I've hanged my hat on being able to get to as many contests as I can, and there's no right or wrong way of doing that. You just got to get there.
Let's stay with Blighty. It was a sort of like a 6-month tornado that hit Moorabbin, and then he was gone. Tell me about your memories of the Blight term at St Kilda.
Throughout that whole 6 months he was there, never once did the players ever lose faith in what he was doing, right up to the end.
Were you sorry to see him go?
Yeah, well, I was really shocked at the time to see him go, and I think all the players were, because we obviously didn't see what was going on behind the scenes. We don't know what happened. So all I can say is we, as players, were 100% had 100% faith in him, and a lot of what he said was trust me, and I've been there, done that, and we did. his history said that if he got a bit of momentum, he was hard to stop.
One of the things that's fascinated me about your journey is that the way that kids have come into the system, and you've sort of been the constant there. I mean, Jaron Geary and Robert Eddy were born in the year that you started, and Bally was 4, Del Santo 4, Goddard 3. Has it been difficult as you've got older and the kids keep coming through at the bottom end? It's been difficult to sort of relate to the younger blokes?
I suppose you probably have to ask them. It doesn't feel like it, and I reckon when I do finish in about 3 or 4 years' time, that's what I miss most. There's no two ways about it. It's healthy to be around young people, and the younger the better for yourself. And you don't always relate, and you don't always have the same interests and stuff, but it's good fun. And my oldest son is 10, so he's actually not that much younger than a lot of these guys. So it's good to get a heads up on how they're thinking and how they tick, and they're different now than they used to be. So
in what sense?
Oh, look, I suppose when we first started, like, we were very much, you just shut up and learn and don't ask too many questions. Just to do what you're told and earn your stripes, and that was the way it was. And it wasn't just me. That was just the way it was back then for young people. It was earn your stripes. Very much initiation sort of stuff when you come to the club. But nowadays they always ask why. The youngest guy on the list, first draft, won't do anything unless he knows why, and he'll say, well, tell me why I should do that,
Is that better?
It's a lot better, yeah, absolutely. As long as they know that asking questions and, as long as they understand they don't know everything when they come, and they asking the right questions for the right reasons, yeah.
You still get nervous on match day?
Yeah, I probably get more nervous now than I used to. It's like when you first start, you obviously get really nervous, and then you have a period where you don't get as nervous in the middle, and then when you get older, the doubts start coming back in whether you can still do it. So you get more nervous. I probably get more nervous now than I ever have, yeah.
Have the music going? You have a bit of Vera Lynn or Dean Martin playing through the headphones?
I've got the iPod going, yeah.
Who's on it?
Don't know about the Vera Lynn. Who's she?
Who's on it? Who do you listen to?
It varies. I've got the Killers going at the moment, yeah.
Who? What's been the biggest thrill, Banger? It's a long journey, 21 seasons, an amazing number of accolades. Is there one single thrill that stands out for you?
Yeah, I suppose when I look back over 21 years, and sort of a lot of people, I suppose, when they talk to you, especially supporters from other clubs or even my own supporters to a degree, they talk to you with a bit of sympathy because you haven't played in a grand premiership, and obviously that's a huge regret. But the biggest thrill is all the finals games I have played, and I think maybe sort of some people may forget that I've played a lot of finals, and if I look at some careers of some people, they don't play as many finals as that, and I'm almost getting the enviable record of playing so many finals without winning a premiership, but it's still great to play all those finals. I might have played 13 or 14 finals now, and that's where footy, that's what it's all about when you're playing those sort of games.
Which was the bigger disappointment, the 97 grand final loss or the preliminary final game that got away from you in Adelaide in 2004?
Yeah, when you look back at those times, and because you remember them pretty clearly, I suppose you got to go through them in isolation. Like the 97 grand final was shockingly bad, and it was like all a blur, and we were in front at half time. We should have done better. Didn't turn up on the biggest day, and play well. We never played well in the first half, but there was always that feeling I sensed amongst the group that we'll get another chance. It's all right, we're good enough. We're enough young guys. We had Lapham, we had Joel Smith, we had Tony Brown, we had all these guys that had come to the club. We're all right. We've got plenty of time. That sort of got everyone through a bit, like that we're right, we're exciting, won all these games in a row, next year will be fine. Whereas, when you say the 04 prelim, I reckon the 05 was just as disappointing for
Against
me.
Sydney?
Yeah, and because the 04 one, I didn't know whether I was playing again next year, so I thought this was my last chance, and I suppose that's why visibly I was so up, you know, that could have been my last. If we'd have won the flag, I would have been done, you know. So
you definitely would have. Had you won the flag in 04, you were gone.
Well, yeah, I reckon I would have, because you know, that's all I was sort of chasing. I was still 30, whatever it was, 33 at the time, you know. And so, and I wasn't sure even without winning the flag, I'd still going to go on. So I hadn't talked to Tomo about it or anything. And the year after was equally as disappointing, especially after, you know, earning the right to play the home final. You know, being in front at three-quarter time in the game, we never played well for the whole game. It was very different. You know, 04 we weren't expected to do well in that game, and we nearly pinched it. And 05 we had all the expectation, and we didn't deliver. So they were equally as disappointing, and they were both premierships that were there, you know, for the taking.
You were down on your haunches at siren time when the siren blew that. Do you remember what was going through your mind?
I remember that. I remember thinking that this could be it. You know, this was my last chance.
Okay, we mentioned Lockett, Winmar, Burke, Lowe, Barker. You played with all those blokes, and now you're playing with a genuine superstar in Revolt. Do you want to rank them for us? Who's the best player you've played with?
Oh, head and shoulders pluggers, but the best players I've played with. I don't know if I'll ever see a player like him again. And I reckon I was fortunate, and I know St.Kilda supporters will agree, those that used to go to Moorabbin and see him play would agree that how good he was, and I was lucky enough to train with him as well. So there was a couple of parts to him, and his training side people would never have seen. The skill of the bloke, I've never seen a guy as skillful as him, left, right foot. He just never made a mistake on the track, and you saw a different side to him when he was training, and he demanded everyone be the same. You know, he was a perfectionist, and yeah, he's just that skillful. You know, often hard to get him out on the track, but when he was there, it was amazing. You know.
Now you talked about head and shoulders above anyone you've played with. You're talking about when you played in the Big V. You're talking about at St Kilda or any other.
Oh look, I'm biased obviously, but I think overall, yeah, I think if you had played in a good side, well, we were okay. But if you had played in a better side, he would have kicked, 1,500 goals. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he was that good, because he just had to get the ball somewhere near him in a reasonable spot, and he would have got it.
Back to your coaches, you were implicated in a player mutiny of sorts against Stan Alves. Was that fair?
Oh, of course not. No.
Well, fair or wrong? Was it incorrect?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. There's no way, never in the history of the game has a player group driven the sacking of a coach.
That's not true.
Well,
players got rid of Tommy Hafey at Collingwood.
Okay, well, from my knowledge and from my time, I've never seen it happen, and it's unfair to say that players oust a coach like that. It's wrong.
Didn't happen.
No.
There was no negativity from the senior group back to the administration that might have led them to think that Stan wasn't the right bloke for the job.
No, look, from my point of view, when Stan got sacked, the club and the board had been obviously looking at him for a 12-month period or even longer, and they were obviously around the place. They knew what was going on. Obviously, when the whole process happened, we got asked questions and stuff about did this happen, did this. Well, we didn't. We were not part of that process. Like, we weren't a huge part of that process. It's unfair to say that players oust the coach. It's just it's wrong. And I took offence to it at the time. I found it, insulting, and it was hard. At the time, myself, Lowe, and Berkey were the three that were implicated, and I just. I was pretty angry about it at the time, and I just felt that it was unfair. It just doesn't happen.
Robert, tell me about the Thomas years. There've been much talked about term at Moorabbin. What are your reflections on Grant Thomas, the coach?
Arguably for me, because it's been in my 30s, they're the most enjoyable years of my career. We won a lot of games. We played finals footy a hell of a lot. And when you're winning games like that, it's a great place to be around. You know, it was great fun. We went on a lot of, we did the pre-season camp thing. We went to other countries, we did all that. It was great. And obviously combine that with winning a lot of games of footy, it was a good place to be.
You're one of the great midfielders in the modern era, no doubt about that. Yet it always seemed that Voss, Hurd and Buckley were just slightly ahead of you. Did that ever irk you?
Well, I suppose my perception, I haven't really got a perception because I'm a player. Like, I wouldn't, I'm not there looking in and saying I should be amongst those guys because I don't know.
But you've got an ego though. I mean, we've all got egos.
Yeah, well, I've always felt like I could match it on a footy field, but whether I haven't won premierships like a lot of those, two of those guys have, so that counts against me to start with, and they're skippers of their teams that won premierships. And you know, Bucks is he's an elite player for a long time. He's one of the blokes I respect most in footy. So you know, to say you should be in those guys' company, it's hard. I don't know. It's hard for me to say.
You're coaching a team that's playing in the grand final. There's one spot left, and it's for a midfielder, and the names are Voss, Hurd, and Buckley. Who gets the job?
Yeah, that's tough. I'll probably just lean slightly to Hurd because he won so many games, you know, off his own boot, and he was so versatile as a player. Like, he just could play any position, and I just always loved watching him play. You know, he was just a freak player. You know, he just had the natural instincts that any footy player would love to have.
Who was your toughest tagger?
I reckon. Well, I had some good battles with Jose Ramiro in the time.
Yeah.
Had a few with Libba. They were always tough.
Tough within the rules, those blokes? Did they play within the rules?
Yeah, yep. Yeah, I mean, they'd be stretching the rules now, these days, but back then they were, for sure. Sean Hart was always just purely because he could run, you know. And Brett Kirk, early, when he first started playing with Sydney, was one of the hardest guys to shake. I reckon he kept me to, you know, 6 or 7 touches a few times.
The theory was Sydney sent him out and sort of said, we don't care if you ever get a kick, just sit on this bloke.
Yeah, and it's a credit to him how he's developed as a player, because he now runs around and he's developed his game so much that he's just an elite midfielder. But when he first started, you just could not shake him. He's one of the best runners going around, and he'd just shut you down. He'd face you, you know, the ball would be there and he just couldn't get, and then you try and that way, look around, he's still on your shoulder.
What's your all-time favourite on-field moment? Have you got one?
Yeah, probably the 97 prelim final. That feeling of Friday night, we played North Melbourne. The feeling that you're in the grand final. So the weekend after it, even, but on the ground after the game with the players, you know, knowing that you're in a grand final. So I can only imagine what it'd be like if you'd won it. Yeah.
So Banga, this will be hard for you to accept, but you are coming to the end. What's the future hold? I mean, you're a man in your mid-30s and you've got a young family. What are you going to do with the rest of your life?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, being in footy for so long and being at St Kilda for 21 years, I suppose I'll definitely be in footy somewhere, I suppose, down the track. It's something I've always done. But I like to travel, like to spend some time at home, like to do a lot of stuff that I haven't done travelling-wise, you know, since I've been playing footy. So that's going to be the priority for me. And then I'd like to keep my toe in footy, and I love footy. I love watching, you know, games of footy, so I'll be involved somewhere.
What about you, the physical side of it? I mean, you've been so active and such a hard worker for so long. Is there another sport? Have you got a sort of a passion about any other sport besides the punt?
Not really. I mean, cricket's in my family, so I've missed my chance for that. And yeah, I'm going to play the game of golf, but nothing much really. I just think footy will be it, and then obviously the kids will get older and I'll get involved with what they do. So yeah, I reckon I'll just put the feet up for a fair while.
How good were you at cricket? Could you have played? Do you think you could have played first class cricket?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I was playing. I suppose I was playing district cricket when I was 18, and I played the under 19 national under 19 championships, which was a great experience. I played against, you know, guys like Langer and Martin and Kasparich and these blokes, so it was a good experience to play in that. But I don't reckon I was quite good enough to play top level.
Well, you were left arm quick, weren't you?
Yeah, I used to open bowling left arm, yeah.
Yeah. Were you quick or were you sort of
Just nippy, mate. Just nippy, yeah. Yeah, I had a really high action, but yeah, just to sort of just slant them across.
You mentioned some names before, Langer and Martin and Kasparovich. Leave Kasparovich out. Did you have a big scalp that you claimed?
Got Martin, yeah.
Did you?
Yeah. Just going away.
Caught it long on, or did you get...
just slips. Yeah. It was a bit of a dodgy track, a bit wet, but just probing forward.
Rob, it's been a huge thrill to watch you play your career from that shy 16-year-old out at the Whitten Oval to your 21st season. I can honestly say it's been a genuine thrill for lots of us to watch you play your career. You've been a credit to yourself and to the game, and whatever the future brings, we wish you all the best.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Only two men have played more games than that man. Michael Tuck and Kevin Bartlett.
Robert Harvey, who go down as probably the most famous number 35 of all time.
I'm going out to buy myself a jump with 35 on it.